Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome or welcome back. Today I'm doing my video wrap up for Shorty September. Overall, I was actually quite disappointed in the books that I chose. I had high expectations for some, and I added another one and was just pleasantly surprised. But first I'll start with a cute little poetry book that also has pictures in it. It's Cicely Mary Barker, and it's The Flower Fairies of the Spring. And she has spring, summer, fall, autumn, and winter. I just read the spring one, but there's cute little poses or pictures in here where she draws the fairies and the flowers that represent each fairy using the same colors and stuff, and then she just has a little bit of a cute little poem about each flower and each fairy. I just needed something quick and kind of just happy, and after especially some of the ones that I've been reading this month. I found these books from Carolyn Marie Reed's. She had a couple of them and they just look super adorable. So I wanted to give them a try. Simple poetry, not really any depth or anything, but I've been wanting to get into more nature poetry, and I always like art as well, so this was a cute little combination of the two. The next one, this one was one of my disappointments, A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. It's about this guy who winds up in hell, and it's just, it's not at all what I was expecting. There's some really thought-provoking moments in there, especially like understanding like the meaning of life, you know, the depth of relationships and stuff you can make, what your version of hell would be, and how you lived on earth with the time you had, and how you're spending the time that you do have. I just feel like the overall portrayal of this, the execution, was not something that I was overly interested in. I thought it was quite boring at times, so I don't really recommend it. The other one I also did not like, and I feel really bad because I really wanted to like this one, and I know so many people really like Clarice Lispector. This is my first attempt at reading something from hers, The Hour of the Star. I loved the concept. It's a narrator who's kind of poor and judgmental, and they're kind of narrating a story about this girl who's poor, ugly, has nothing going for her, doesn't understand that she should be miserable because she's just not. She's happy and accepts her life as it is. So once again, I love that concept. I really wanted to like this. I just did not like the writing style at all. And the character that was being described was interested and fascinating, and I really like that exploration. I just did not like the narrator. I couldn't even get into it with how down they were, and I know that they were trying to show the two different ways of living a similar life. It just was really hard for me to get into, and I just didn't like it at all. I had to stop and start it several times to finally finish it. The next one is one that I got here in Michigan at the Detroit Book Fest. So it's like a local author, Kin. It's a bunch of different stories by E. Afua Prince, or V. Afua Prince. So there's like poetry, there's different like one act plays, there's essays, short little stories. Some of it was amazing. I especially loved, there was a 2-part one where they're talking about their her great aunt, Clyde Giles, I think. And so that part was interesting. That's called Amita. And then there was a really good companion piece, kind of like a overall story of it, called The Family Tree. And that one was my favorite in the whole thing. I really enjoyed that. But there was also a couple of interesting concepts being talked about. For instance, one of the plays, it's about the connection in water. It's called The Water Bearer. And I liked what they were doing with it. I just didn't overall like the execution, once again, of this. So it's talking, and I didn't know anything about this, but in 1881 in Georgia, I believe it was Georgia, Atlanta, yeah, they had a strike. So a lot of the women, newly freed or free women, black women, they couldn't get a lot of jobs having newly been freed. And so they were really good at cleaning laundry. And you know, when you're rich and you're not wanting to do things, the first thing that the people weren't wanting to do was cleaning all their laundry. So that was a job that they could have. But they were barely paying it because it's hard for them to start paying for something that they used to have their enslaved people do for free. So the women went on strike, and it was very interesting. I didn't know at all about that and how much of a movement that was and how important that was, that then they started coming up with different cleaning companies who would try to essentially take the money away from these striking black women. So they like undercut them at first, and then they found a way to tax the people, the minority people who were not rich. Their businesses, they were being taxed. They would always find a way to add a new tax on them. And then the other ones were able to basically try to take over the businesses and stuff. So I didn't know much about that whole movement and the importance of it. Adding on to, like, there was part where they would even he was telling you how to do laundry and stuff, which was weird, but kind of entertaining. But then it later linked with the Flint water crisis, and showed a through line between cleaners, between water and the importance and sacredness of water, and then also within the African American community, because that's who was widely affected in Flint with that water crisis there. So I really enjoyed a lot of the aspects of that one act play, but some of the way that it was presented was kind of odd. And another one that I really enjoyed from here it's called June, and it's a bunch of just short little clips talking about different things that are important to the community. And one of them that was overly discussed was the treatment of women, especially, like with Columbus coming on and all the different wars and stuff, and how you use the abuse of women to show your dominance in war, to basically dehumanize them, to make the women full of shame, and make the men feel bad for not having protected their women. And so then that shame carries on, and how it's used in generations to continue to keep an oppressed civilization down. by using this very vicious, malicious act. And so it was talked about through that, leading up to just regular assault, human to human assault now, rather than just war, and how it's still very much a power dynamic, how it's still very much this this violent thing that strips away somebody's dignity and security, and or at least it tries to, and not letting it do that, not letting them win, type of thing. But there's some facts in here, and there's every once in a while one of the stories will feature. So like in part of the story, they actually had one of the ads for the laundry. And then there's also a couple parts in here where they're showing news clips and stuff when they're talking about different things that happen. So like they show the news story, and then they talk about the actual thing that happened rather than the whitewashed news version of it. So overall, I gave this like 3.25 stars or something, but there was some of them that were so much better than that, 4.5 star or something. But then there were some that I just didn't get, or that weren't for me. And so the average brought it down a little bit, but I still enjoyed a lot of aspects of it, and I still very much like the art on the cover of this. The next one, I actually really enjoyed this one, but it's definitely just a me thing. It's not going to be something that I can highly recommend, because I don't know many people who are into the art, especially this is the Baroque period, and sculptures and stuff like that. So this is Bernini in Rome. He's one of my favorite sculptors, and I just wanted to kind of get a little introduction to him. And so I got this book because I knew it had art, pictures in it, because his stuff is so fascinating. What disappointed me about this book is actually the fact that it is not very good photocopies of the pictures, so I couldn't really see the pieces that I wanted to see. So that was the disappointment in that. But like the way that he could manipulate marble is absolutely fantastic. And so this book, there are some typos and stuff in here. It's not an author or a scholar or anything who wrote it. It's actually, he was a tour guide to a lot of the facilities that Bernini's structures, because he was an architect as well. So he knows very much about Bernini, and he just basically, it's kind of like being with him as a tour guide, or something like that. And it's also almost a travel book, because he talks about where each big piece of art is, and what you'll want to look for when you go in there and see it, different things that you're going to think about for the area. And so overall, I actually really did enjoy this. I just am very disappointed with the photographs pictured inside. I wish that there would have been a better quality, and like I said, there were some spelling errors and stuff, but for what I wanted it for and what I got, it was still well worth it. So I don't know. This is actually Michelangelo's, because he was talking about the difference when he came into being an artist was at the end of Michelangelo's life, and Michelangelo was High Renaissance, and then he was the beginning of Baroque. And so what's fascinating to me is they started using, all the Renaissance art and stuff, and I talked about this in a different video, to try to, the Catholic Church used it to try to get their new converts, because they were basically colonizing the entire world by that time, and so they were introducing people to Catholicism, and they wanted them to like convert willingly. So they wanted to show them art and beauty and why it might be worth it. And then they also were trying to bring back their members, their fallen members who had converted to Protestantism, or stop people from converting by spending a lot of money on art that represented, you know, different depictions in the Bible. So you had Michelangelo's David, you had that one picture I showed you of the crucified Jesus with Mary holding him, and then you know, even the Sistine Chapel and stuff. So you had all this beautiful art that was supposed to be just classical and trying to get you in the door, essentially. And so what Bernini did, and you know, with the Baroque art, is he was giving you an experience. So you didn't just go there, you know, to look at the art. You went there to feel what it meant to be touched by God, or that was the idea of the use of his art once he started getting into the churches and stuff. He started out with like that first one is actually Pluto and Prosperina, and that's the one where I was showed you. So she's trying to get away. It's basically the Roman version of Hades and Persephone, and so you can see her trying to get away, and he's grabbing her, and even like her skin looks supple, and he looks strong, trying to hold it, and it's all in one marble block, which is fascinating and amazing that he could do. But he started out with what other people did, with just the mythology and aspects of it, and things that were important to Rome. And then once he got into the churches and stuff, because he was very pious himself, but once they started paying him to go and represent the churches with his art, that's when he did his version of David, and all the ideas are a feeling or a moment, whereas Michelangelo's famous David, he's just standing there, and he's, you know, everybody know who he's supposed to be and what he's representing. But Bernini, if I can find it in here, he does the version where David is in the middle of his battle with Goliath. And so he's showing movement, he's showing emotion, and so that's what differentiated his style with the Renaissance style that came before him, because he was showing a specific sliver of moment in time where there was, whether there was fear or ecstasy, which one of his paintings or one of his sculptures simulated being taken basically by an angel to heaven. And so you have this this innate understanding of a significant moment in time, and the way that he knew where it was going to be placed within the church or within the building that it was going to be displayed in, how he showed the light shining in, or where the person was going to focus. So if it was David battling Goliath, they would have it so that he was focusing up for someone higher than him, and just his ability to capture all of that. The idea was that you would be moved to convert by seeing his art. And that's a tall order, absolutely. But I just find it fascinating that when you see art so amazing like this, and now that it has been so long from the time and the reason for him to create it, to still go there and absolutely feel something. You might not feel what was originally intended for that time, but you can still see so much feeling and purpose and stuff in his work. And I think for what this book was, I really enjoyed it. And it got me ready to read The Genius and the Design. So Bernini, Borromini, and the Rivalry That Transformed Rome. So they're both were big architects at the time. So they're basically responsible for what we see in Rome now. And I just find the whole idea, I love art, I love architecture, I love history, so this is something I'm excited about. And for this one specifically, it mentioned how the Roman architecture at the time, they had a huge reverence for Egyptian architecture. So they actually dug up a bunch of the obelisks from Egypt and then put them around in Rome during their conquest of Egypt and stuff. And now I just find it fascinating that, at least in the United States and stuff, especially how we say that our republic is mirrored on or inspired by the Roman Republic, and how everybody is like so obsessed with Rome. In Rome's time, it was all about Egypt. And so I love finding out why and what inspires different people and different civilizations. And I haven't read much on Egypt yet. I always have loved Egypt, but I have not read about what their inspirations were, because their art was absolutely fantastic. And their architecture, their pyramids, their the Sphinx, and like all the different stuff that they've done. Who or what or how were they inspired? If anyone has any books to recommend for that area, I would love to hear it. But these are the ones that I read for Shorty September, and then the one that I am inspired to read because of one of these. So I had a really good reading month, but as for my short books, I was more or less mostly disappointed. I want to hear how your Shorty September went, if you have any recommendations, or if you have any thoughts on the ones, if you've read any of these. I especially would like to hear your thoughts on the Clarice Lispector one, because I feel bad that I didn't like it, because I had so much respect going into it that maybe I just read it at the wrong time, or if I'm missing something. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Anyway, thank you. Happy reading and have a great day.